All right, we'll call to order the June 8th, 2021 Park and Recreation Commission meeting at 7 p.m.
So Fred, I got 2 people in the waiting room. You want me to let them in?
Yeah, sure. Let's just remind everybody that's here tonight that we're going to go in order of the agenda, and raise your hand if you want to speak, and do not use the chat function, correct?
I don't think the chat function is on there anymore. We removed it a while back.
Oh, okay. Well, then we're good to go. So since Mrs. Crory is here, and I'm sure as much as she'd like to spend time with us, she'd rather get this done with quickly, we'll move to the first item on the agenda, the donation of the scoreboard for Kerper Field. Diane?
Sure. Thanks for having me. So David Ayotte is not able to be here this evening. Basically, it is either a 10-foot or a 12-foot scoreboard that they are looking to donate for Kerper Field. And it is of really no cost to you. The minimum cost for you would be, for your electricity on a monthly basis. In talking to Mike Lynn, he said you barely see any costs at all. It is LED lights, and it's only when you're using it. So when it's not being used, there is no cost. So what he has given me for information is exactly this. There's a 5-year factory warranty for the scoreboard. There is also included, they will give you a 3-year on-site labor warranty, which Ayotte Associates will give to you. And in the unlikely event that a part needs to be replaced in the first 3 years, they will also give that to you at no cost. If a part needed to be replaced in 4 to 5 years, it would be your cost of labor only. I've also talked to LWD. Nick Lawler has told me that they are willing to help with the installation as far as the electric part of it. So that is at no cost to you. And as I stated, this is something that it's an all-American scoreboard. It is 6 foot high by 12 foot wide, 5 inches deep. I'm not sure what else you need to know about it. There is it is electronic wireless to run it. The logo on it you could put whatever you want. If you wanted to say Littleton Soccer, they'll put that on for you. And it's a basic soccer scoreboard. And you get to pick out what you would like as well. So.
Do you know when they would possibly deliver and install it? Like a time frame?
Been waiting on you folks. So,
good answer.
So the sooner we get an answer from you, then we just need to go to get the basic last authorization. Once you say okay, then we just get the last authorization from select board, and then it's good to go. And then they will coordinate with the light department, and hopefully we'll have it for the fall season.
Okay.
Sorry.
What happened to our computer there?
Anybody have any comments or questions?
I think it would be good. Maybe I'm late to the game a little bit here, but I think it would be great to bring the youth soccer, since they use the field a lot, bring them on board so that they have any questions or comments they want to add if they can.
Is there typically just one game run there at a time, or
No, on corporate, there are actually two fields.
two fields?
Depends. If it's they can set it up for 11v11, which is one field, or they can separate to two age-appropriate fields. That's typically what they, for the most part, what they run on that field.
I think it's a great idea. Like, I'd love to have it. The only question I have is I know that sometimes there's a little like there's an issue with getting, at least at alumni, like getting the panel that runs the board and who sort of controls that. And, you know, I think it's different teams that buy their own panel. So, you know, that's the only concern I have is who's going to have access to it and when and how it's going to get given out and all that stuff. I think everyone should be able to have access to it, but just who's going to be in charge of it.
Well, I guess that would be, if I may, Mr. Chair, through you.
Of course, Mrs. Croy.
So basically, it's a 9000 series handheld console, and I would think that you would be able to keep it in the shack, the snack shack. And I guess if you are setting up your games throughout the year, you would set up whoever is in charge, and basically for the week, I would think that you'd be able to set it up that way. Whoever's game is set, you'd be able to do it that way.
That makes a lot of sense. Yep.
Yep. I'm all for it, but I just had that question.
All right, any other discussion? No? What do you need from us tonight, Alicia? Anything?
If you would like to accept the donation, you do have to vote on it.
I would make a motion that we accept the donation of the scoreboard for Corper Field from Mr. Was it Ayotte or I don't forget.
Ayotte.
Ayotte, sorry.
That's okay.
I second.
All right, all in favor. Aaron?
Aye.
Oh, you changed the screen. I don't know who's here. Kevin?
Yes.
Saul?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I'm yes as well, so the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you for coming tonight, Diane.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your vote.
Thank you.
Night. Thank
All right. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you, Diane. Thanks, Ms. Ayotte.
All right.
Good grief. Sorry. All right. Number 3 on the agenda are commissioner updates. So we'll just start out. I have no updates, at least at this point in time. Kevin, anything?
No, I have no updates.
Saul?
Nope.
Aaron?
No, sir.
Mike?
No.
All right. Well, that was a quick.
So, did you have any updates from that historical commission meeting? It probably.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. They were going to. Sorry. Yes, they are going to pull together a subcommittee to work on naming and be in touch with you about moving ahead with that and have probably a representative. I offered to be that as part of the committee to work through that.
Awesome. Subcommittee for naming 300.
Somehow that was further back in my mind than this past month, but
I know. Yeah, it's gone by really quickly. I think it was like literally the day after the last park commission meeting. So
could have been, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so I've got that. All right, I am all set, Fred. Thank you.
All right. Next we have we've got to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Correct.
Has everybody had a chance to review those minutes?
Yep.
Aaron, was that you that said no?
No, I said
Oh.
yes.
Oh, I thought you said no. I didn't have a problem with it. I just thought if you wanted to read them, take your time. All right. Then do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes of the May Park Commission meeting?
April.
April?
Oh,
Oh. That's weird.
I think it was the May meeting that we're
Yeah, it was.
approving. Okay.
Okay.
Motion to approve the May Park Commission meeting minutes.
I'm sorry, guys, it is. That's my bad.
Okay, so do we want to,
I guess it depends if you're right-sided or left-sided brain. I read the text, not the numbers.
yeah, I
It's
saw
been a busy
05 and I
week.
was good. All right, do we have a second to that motion?
I second it.
All right, all in favor, Aaron,
Yes, sir.
Kevin,
yep.
Saul,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and I'm yes as well, and the minutes are approved unanimously. All right, so the next thing, I think we reorganized the commission except for the Sports Council representative. So do we want to have a little discussion on that?
There's one position that's been added to you, Fred, that's on there. We had a recent department head meeting at Town Hall, and they're going to be looking to do a master plan for trails, bike routes, and sidewalks. And I thought that was something that we should have a park commissioner as a representative as part of that group. So if you want to have that discussion, I'm not sure what the time frame is for them starting that plan, but I would assume it's probably going to be after town meeting or possibly, you know, around next for fall town meeting. Not sure yet.
I would love to be involved in that master plan for trails, bike routes. I bike quite often in the Littleton area, and I definitely have, when I say bike, it's not just mountain bike. I road bike quite a bit on the roads. I have my thoughts, and I'd like to be involved in that. And I'm always in the trails. I think folks know that, you know, whether I'm mountain biking or hiking or trail running. So I would love to be involved.
All right, well, that solves that. So does somebody want to nominate Mike for that position?
I will nominate Mike for the master plan for trails, bike routes, and sidewalks as the representative.
I will second that.
All right, all in
guys.
favor, Aaron,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Saul,
Yes.
and I'm yes as well. So the motion or the nomination is approved. Congratulations, Mike. You're on a committee and you didn't have to be absent to get put on it. So there you go. All right, let's, do we want to talk about the Sports Council rep? Anybody? Do we have anybody interested in being the Sports Council rep?
I'll jump in on that. If Saul will come with me again.
I will come with you again. Sure.
All right, so we'll have dueling reps. So we need a nomination for both of them to act as co-representatives.
I will nominate Kevin and Saul for the Sports Council representative.
Mike, you have to second.
Yeah, I guess so. I thought about it. Yeah, I'll second.
All right, all in favor, Aaron,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and I'm yes as well. Congratulations, gentlemen. Now, you guys go out or something to like a restaurant? Is that why you're so eager to join?
Saul and I just get together and talk about sports. That's what it is.
All right.
Maybe we'll actually get to go out this year, right?
I know, right?
I may have to review what the actual responsibilities are.
We'll just change it. It's okay.
All right. Next up, we've got the change to the FY22 budget for the cost of living adjustment.
Okay.
No, you had the right screen up. There
Yeah,
we
you
go.
had it right.
I-
It's just really teeny tiny on mine right now because I'm trying to do the minutes at the same time. Okay, there we go. So the select board is voting to approve a 1% cost of living increase for all non-union town employees. So that includes Parks and Rec staff. The amount in increase to our wages as a total for next year would be $3,783. So that is something that they needed to add into the budget before we put it through at town meeting. So the highlighted components there show I've added it into the transfer from reserve into the so that it will come out of our reserves, my apologies. And then there's the additional funds that have increased the salary and wages. And then again, at the bottom, you can see that we are a zero balanced budget.
So,
Tim, will you
so the line item with 47,000, that's exactly the 3783 that was added.
So we were, yeah, will you go to that next one, Tim?
Yep. That one?
Nope, that's not it. I thought I put it in here. Okay, let me go back to my minute notes really quick.
Are you looking for
Well,
that?
I'm just asking. I mean, I trust that.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
just
no,
say that-
well, I want to be really clear about it. So,
Okay.
What,
so
hang on, Mike. What do you want? Do you want the pie chart, Alicia?
no, you're fine. Leave it right there. I put it in my notes to talk about rather than up on the screen. So originally, the amount was $44,000, and that had covered. We were going to put 25,000 back into special events. Since we had lost all of those funds to the COVID debt that we had. So we wanted to be able to put in enough money to be able to start special events again and make sure that we could do them properly instead of, just trying to wing it and do as best we could. So I know Tim does a really great job on all the special events, and that's an area where he needs that support. So the 25,000 you guys had previously voted on, there was a $19,000 transfer request to go into the recreation wages, and that would be able to help us meet the payment or the wage costs for any additional staff that we may bring on, because we had said, we had laid off one position and we wanted to reassess and possibly bring in another program coordinator. It's something that we've been trying to do for many years. So that 19,000 will help go towards funding that position if we're able to move forward with it. So that's where you get your 44,000. And then the additional $3,783 is that COLA increase. So the one thing I did want to cover is, so in the town meeting warrant articles, they do have the $30,000 in there for the statistically valid survey that we asked for, but I just found out today that the commission had also asked for $40,000 to do the maintenance and equipment line that was not funded by capital this year. So apparently that one was also denied. I haven't really gotten a response as to why, but it's not in the article. So I will have a conversation with the TA to discuss it and look at the options of potentially requesting that for a fall town meeting. At this point in time, it's not a big deal. I'm not going to push it to be on this town meeting because we still have some funds left over from this year that we'll be able to use. And typically, we end up using those funds towards, I would say, end of winter into spring so that we can get the facilities and the equipment up to, a really great level so that we're ready to go for the summer season, since that's our biggest season. So if, we can revisit, I'll have that conversation. I can give an update further on. But at this point in time, the amount that is going to be asked to be taken out of the reserve in total on Saturday is $77,783.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of our resources, capital resources, are utilized in the summer, especially by Camp T, right?
Well, at this point in time, the decision from the FinCom was not to give us capital at all because we are an enterprise fund. So we, as an enterprise fund, will no longer have access to it.
Do we have the funds to back up if we have
Do we have the funds to back up if what?
the transportation that we use for the campers, for instance?
Are you talking about the buses?
What about the vans that we have?
Yeah, so we do. I mean, that's a great question because there is an older van. I think it's like a 2006, and we genuinely do need to update that van, but we will get to it when we have the funds to be able to get to it. Unfortunately, it's something I can bring up in the future, but what I've understood is that because we are an enterprise, that we are no longer going to be able to ask for capital funds.
What's the mileage that we currently have on that older one?
Oh, I have no idea. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Yeah.
It was owned by Elder and Human Services before we took it on. So it's been some life.
Yeah, it's not the mileage, it's the wear that's on that one.
Yeah. And it's loved, well loved.
Yeah, so the other piece is, do you want to touch on the utilities also, Alicia?
No, we're okay with that.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. So essentially, I would ask if you wanted to take a vote to increase that amount. I don't think you necessarily have to, but because this is going to actually change the amount that we had agreed upon previously by that $3,783, I think it would be beneficial just to have the Park Commission support that.
Any thoughts?
What was the question? I'm sorry. Fred, you on mute?
No, I just said,
Okay.
did anybody have any thoughts? It wasn't my question, and I thought somebody else started to say something, so I thought I spoke over them.
There's a hand raised.
Yeah, we're going along with normal business. Anything new we'll touch at the very, very end of the meeting. Thank you.
So does it make sense, given where we're at with that? To put you have the funds to cover if some unexpected repairs come up.
Well, so yes and no. So we do have some of the funds, like I said earlier, that we could use. But that is why we wanted to be able to transfer over the 40,000, just to be able to, if something pops up as a surprise, like let's say that van just decides it's not working anymore, and we have to get a new one. Then if we at least had the 40,000, then we were, sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. My apologies. We would still have the money to be able to handle that situation and then additionally handle any other subsequent things that might pop up.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm wondering is, what's the procedure, from actually transferring, just to be proactive, from the reserve to PRCE just to cover it? I mean, if something should come up, can you make that call, at that
No,
point
it
in
has
time?
to be done at town meeting.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it makes sense to, tap into the reserve to do that, right? At this point in time?
Well,
Just-
we had, and that was the point, so that you all, as the park commission, had voted to request 40,000 to be transferred into this upcoming year, so fiscal year 2020. And it sounds like the FinCom, and I'm not sure about the Board of Selectmen, or the Select Board, I'm sorry, had denied that request, so it was not added to the warrant. But I just found out about it today.
From the reserve?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So as soon as I get an update, like I said, I will meet and have a conversation with the town administrator, Anthony Ansaldi, and we'll look at, kind of discuss what happened since we weren't made aware of it. And additionally, if there's options for going back and requesting that this upcoming fall, since it will not be on this warrant.
But this adjustment can be made even though it's after the warrant was published.
Interesting, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, are we good on this? Anybody have anything else? All right,
No.
so why don't we move on to the COVID policies?
Well, you have to take a vote if you want to
Oh, my
approve
bad.
that additional $3,783.
Yeah, do we have a motion
I-
on that, please?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve the 1% cost of living increase for non-union town employees. Do I have to put the amount of money in there, or is that good enough?
I got you.
All right.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, Saul,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Mike,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
and I'm yes as well, so the motion's approved.
Thank you,
All
gentlemen.
right, let's move on to the COVID policies.
So I just wanted to bring this up. So technically, all of our COVID policies at playgrounds, athletic fields, and park facilities are still active. On the 15th of June, all executive orders from the Commonwealth will be dissolved with the end of the state of emergency. And additionally, as of the 29th of May, the Commonwealth had eliminated all mandatory use of masks outdoors and in most indoor locations.
Nikki
So all of the decisions.
from Park and Rec, how are you?
Tim, I think we can hear you. Can you put yourself on mute, please?
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. The point is that we still have active COVID policies, even though they are outdated. So I wanted to have a discussion on, do you all want to, dissolve those policies that we've created over the last 14 months and just kind of go back to normal? Do you want to pick and choose and leave some things in effect? Do you want to, do as the rest of the state is, that all executive orders dissolve at the end of the state of emergency? It was more of a discussion specifically for the commissioners to make a decision on the COVID policies.
I think we should be in lockstep as much as we possibly can with the state. And, I know they've been moving pretty rapid compared to, it seems like they're going faster now than and how they ramped up. But I think we should be lockstep. So I don't know if there's a way that we can actually put wording into a motion to do that, but that's my take.
Beth, do you want to accidentally?
I agree with Mike. I mean, I think, I know regulations are changing every day and we're changing every day, but if we can lift them and get back to a little bit of normalcy, I think I would be all behind that.
Yeah.
I guess you were talking about dissolving, and my thought process is if there's a way that we can word it such that, you know, you guys are on the ground and are able to be more mobile than we can as a commission. If you can, tailor those policies as need be based on what the state guidance is. That's
I mean, at the end of the day, you guys are the policy board, so it is up to you, not up to us in the department.
Yeah. Well, I understand that. What I'm trying to say is to give you guys some more, because I mean, they're making changes very frequently, and we meet on a monthly basis. So,
right. To be really clear, so all of the youth sports, they had their policies in place, and they, what was it? MISA, I think, is the organization for soccer, had said, I want to say, last weekend with the elimination of the mandatory use of masks, that they weren't going to require the kids and the parents and spectators to continue to wear them. Additionally, the state had removed all of the capacity limitations that we have had in the past. So all of the outdoor programs are essentially completely back to normal. The difference where we are still implementing the use of masks, and we're having that discussion with parents, is at Camp to Have On.
Yeah.
You got so, and that's something, if parents choose that they want their kids to wear a mask the whole time, whether indoor or outdoors, that's their choice. If they only want their child to wear a mask indoors, that is also their choice. Or if they want their child to not wear a mask at all, additionally, that is a choice. So there's 3 choices they can choose from at this point in time.
So you're saying the state's giving guidance on indoor camps?
Oh yeah, they have been the entire time.
Okay.
Yep.
No, what I mean is, there's still restrictions or not? Is it totally?
There's not. We came up with a seamless doc and sent it to the parents to give them that request, because when the guidelines dropped and went expired, there was, the mask mandate was as it sat. So we felt, just like we do with Christian's Law and the life jackets, we gave parents similar options.
Yep. And the only policy that we're really pushing is that I think a majority, if not all, of our staff is vaccinated. But if they are not, then they do have to wear a mask when they're around the kids at all times. But otherwise, the mask usage for the kids is at the parents' discretion. Otherwise, I would say pretty much everything else is dissolved and back to normal operating.
Okay.
Hey, Alicia.
Yeah.
Just an aside. Do you have that number? Because
you cut out there.
Somebody just found the wedding ring we've been looking for. I need the number ASAP.
I don't have the number of the individual. They had called through our department and talked to Abby. So if they can contact us in the morning at the office, we can arrange for that to be given back. That's
right. Yeah, she's not around, so all right, thanks.
All right, sorry about that. Yep. Okay. Any other questions about any of the current COVID policies?
What about other, like the non-camp programming things, the magic class and things like that that have younger kids in them?
We're doing the same thing. So if it's an outdoor program, I'm trying to think. Honestly, we've done the same thing. So for the LEAP programs, I think you're speaking of specifically, or teen adventures, we are going by the parents' approval, whatever they decide to choose for that specific document that we set up on Seamless.
Okay.
All right. So I think we need a motion probably from what it sounds like that we're just going to sort of,
So you want to use the wording, Alicia, dissolve?
Yeah, I would just say, I mean, that's kind of the easiest way to put it is just making a motion to dissolve all COVID-related policies that affect programs, facilities, and fields.
I can make a motion, Fred, if you want me to.
sure.
I'll make a motion to dissolve all policies that affect the COVID policies that affect our playgrounds, athletic fields, and park facilities, indoors and out. Is that good enough, Alicia?
It is indeed. Thank you,
Yes.
Mike.
Do we have
Okay.
a second?
I'll second it.
All right. All in favor? Kevin,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Saul,
Yes.
and I'm yes as well. So the motion to dissolve the policies is approved. All right, let's move on. And our next item is, Tim, are you set? And you're on mute.
Yeah,
You ready to go over the special events?
Yeah, so obviously with the executive orders dropping, we are going to go ahead and start to move forward with special events beginning in July. We are going to go ahead and start with Third Thursday, July and August, which brings us to our next event, which would be October, which is the Oktoberfest. So in doing so, if we are going to get this rolling again, it does take, quite a long time to put together something like that. So one of the things we need to approve is, as we did a couple years ago, just get requests from you guys for approval for one-day use of Fay Park for alcohol. We will most likely be working together again with the sub shop in order to facilitate this. We just wanted to have this vote in place so that when we do go talk to the Board of Selectmen and talk about starting special events up again, we can get the all of the votes done at one time, just so to streamline everything moving forward. The other piece to that is, just while we're on it, is I'm looking at possibly moving Touch a Truck to September. Normally we do it in May and there's a lot going on. So I think we may push Touch a Truck to September. And that way we also don't have the competition. Normally when we do it, there's like 12 other Touch Trucks the same weekend. It doesn't seem like they're as prevalent in the fall. So that was the other thing. So this is, if you guys can, request a vote from you guys in order to have the one-day alcohol use at Fay Park.
Does this cover the touch a truck, or is that independent? You're going to come back?
Just a different thing. That was just a quick synopsis.
Okay.
That was Third Thursday. The actual vote is to allow the alcohol usage in the park.
Okay. The touch a truck is a great event. I'm glad that we're not going to wait till next spring for it. So that's great. The Oktoberfest, I'm for it.
Can we put a beer tent at Touch a Truck too? I bet it'd be an even better event.
We do not. We do not.
Okay. Strike that.
Oh, Kevin. All right. So, Kim, you want us to approve the alcohol use, and then you still have to go to the selectmen, correct, for
Correct.
approval for the permitting and everything. So it's not simply our decision made here today.
That is 100% correct. Yes. And then they have to approve the liquor license for whomever decides to pull it.
All right.
Just the first step in the process.
Yeah. I mean, it was a very well, the inauguration was a very well-run event. So it's,
Yeah.
I'd look forward to seeing that run again.
Good.
So are we approving it or approving a request for it? Or supporting a request for it?
Use of alcohol for the event, which will take place, Tim, I believe it is October 2nd.
Yeah, that's what we're shooting for. If possible, I'd rather not stick a date to it because we do have, we normally pick a rain out weekend. And I think that we did last time. So just, if we could just say that we are approving use of a one-day alcohol permit for Fay Park for 2021 Oktoberfest, I think that might suffice for now.
But Tim, it would be more appropriate to word it that we're approving the application for the alcohol permit, correct?
No, the alcohol permit has nothing to do with you guys.
Okay.
You as park commissioner, so the use of alcohol is not allowed on any of our park facilities. So you have the right to allow there to be use of alcohol at event if someone were to, come to the park commission meeting and ask. So in this case, because we're having a special event, we're asking you first if we are allowed to have alcohol on the premises. Then we have to go through the select board process of asking for a 1-day liquor license.
I do like Tim's change in the wording that's currently written right there, just to make it October though.
Yep, I gotcha.
Okay,
Right.
can we get a motion?
Go ahead, Sal.
I move that we approve the use of a 1-day alcohol permit at Fay Park for Oktoberfest 2021.
A second. Oh, sorry.
All right, all in favor, Kevin,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Saul,
Yes.
and I'm yes as well, so the motion is
Just get
approved.
things moving along, just.
All right, e-checks, correct?
So on that, we've been so busy, honestly. I mean, it's a poor excuse and I apologize. I just have not had any time to follow up and get additional information on it. So I'm asking if we can table that for July. And again, I do very much apologize for that.
Well, that's my fault. I misread the agenda. I stopped at the
I have it
hyphen.
in both places. Yeah.
Okay, so I just didn't go on. All right. Director's report.
Okie doke. So Tim, if you want to go to the very first slide. As always, we do our month to month, which is just, interesting information to know. It's not really the end all be all here. So for the end of May, you can see in our graph from MyRec, clearly April and May, we've done better than April and May of last year. That doesn't really tell us a whole lot, other than, we're getting closer to getting back to a place of normalcy. For the end of this month, with all incoming revenue and all expenditures, with just general expense and wage, we were in the positive for $3,325.26. So the last couple months we've been in the trend where we've been in the positive, which is really good. Because, clearly my biggest concern is we had such an issue with the COVID pandemic just destroying the revenue that we had. And, town meeting last year, we had to ask for, help from the town to be able to deal with that debt, which is a place I never want to be in again, to be quite honest. So it's been a goal this year to really stay on top of everything in a very detailed manner. So I think we've done a really good job. And when I say we, I mean Tim and John and Rachel. They have been so diligent and it hasn't been easy. So I have to give them a lot of props for being creative and, really trying to work through the numbers and make things work. It's been amazing to have that support from them so that, we can move forward and do the best that we can do for the community. So that, has been greatly appreciated from me as a director.
So I just had a couple thoughts. One,
Yeah.
it's more a question for you. You don't have, if you just informal. Are we back to what a baseline is normally in our spring? If you compare,
No,
March and April, May.
No, and the reason I'm going to say no is twofold. One, we had tried this summer, we tried to do a little experiment where We wanted to capture the actuals from one fiscal year to the next. Unfortunately, the majority of the revenue and expenditures that come in and out through our department is right in the middle of when we switch from one fiscal year to the other. So July 1st is the very first day of our new fiscal year. So one thing that we've done this year is we said any program that was starting after July 1 that we would invoice people after the fact.
Okay. Yep.
Right. But it had caused a lot of confusion. So there were people that felt like they didn't know if they were actually registered because some of them were on wait lists. Some of them were registered at like a zero balance. And I honestly think that we lost, participants because of some of that confusion.
Yeah.
So I've had the conversation with the finance director that that's not something I want to continue to do for the upcoming years. So we'll have to come up with a better solution that we can do in-house on our side that's going to be able to separate, those funds to come up with, what is fully in fiscal year. So for example, we're in fiscal year 21 now, and what it will be for fiscal year 22, which we're going into on July 1st.
So that was one question. The other question is looking at February for last year. Is that right?
Say that one more time.
So I'm looking at February of last year, and you have that huge jump at 80,000.
Do you know what that was?
Normal? Huh?
You know what that was?
No, I can't remember. Refresh my memory.
Right before COVID hit. COVID
Yeah, I
hit
know that.
on March.
That was when we normally bring in all of our camp and our summer money, Mike. That's like the big peak.
Yep.
Normally March would have been like 130,000.
Yep.
Right, but that's income that you had in February. How do we get that income?
Because that's when we open programming. The brochure goes into the houses in January, so people could start signing up in February and March. And then we had to refund all that money, so then everything bottomed out.
Yep.
But that says income. We had $80,000 income. What am I missing?
That's correct. So we opened registrations for, again, this is all pre-COVID. We opened registrations as we normally would in January, right?
Oh, I got it. And then you have to refund the April, May. Okay.
You got it. Yep.
Ah,
So that's why it's really hard for me to tell you guys what is a normal year anymore, because the reality is, with COVID, last year is as far as statistics go, it's just a huge wrench in the numbers for everyone, not just our department. And then additionally, as we're trying to sort out and make sure that the finances are categorized in the correct years. That's the other component of it that is a bit of a challenge that we're still just going to have to figure out how we're going to deal with that. In the past, we just would roll with it, right? We would open the registrations in January and just keep going. So, what would be the end of our fiscal year would just, seamlessly blend into the beginning of our next fiscal year, which we're trying to find a way to not do that there's an actual, line so we can figure out what the actuals actually are. Any other questions?
Nope.
Nothing from the peanut gallery. All right. So Tim, if you want to move to the next one, please, and thank you. Oh no, I did it again. So there's a lot of information here. And
Back up, Tim.
the information that was on here, I kind of like piecemealed things together, because the big question that we have, especially with town meeting coming up this coming Saturday, is, will we have to use the article that we put in to transfer funds from our reserve to cover any debt that we've had this year, or will we not? So I did the best that I could with the numbers that I had. Tim, can you put that back up, or you can just delete that actual, what do you call it, pie chart. That doesn't need to be in there. I'll just go through the numbers. So there's something when you like upload it to Google Docs so that we can share it on Zoom, it like changes the proportions of the.
It's just the aperture. So
Yeah.
It's all set. You're good. I fixed it.
Awesome. Thank you. Beauteous. All right. So instead of giving you the year-to-date number, which if you can see that green line on the very top, can you go back one, Tim? Thank you. The very top there, it says, so 57,467. So in Munis, our financial software, at this point in time, that's our overall net for the department. But I wanted to get a real picture of what we're looking at for what's the end of fiscal year 21 going to look like. So what I did was I did a couple of different calculations. One, I did a approximation as far as the staff benefits. So if they are the finance department's working on inputting some of those. I think they had some issues with new HR staff being onboarded and then HR staff leaving. So they're trying to fix those. So I did have to kind of approximate some of the months. But at the end of it, we have the approximation of $56,940 for the end of the year. And then I think some of that's cut off, Tim, but I think it'll be okay. So for the end of the year, the full-time employees approximate is around $285,702.61. And then seasonals, because remember, this is where it gets tricky again. We have seasonals that are in July and August of last year, and then May and June of this year, right? So all of that is just at the beginnings and ends, which makes it a little tricky. If we have, I played my little if-then game. So if our expenses match the previous months, which I think we're on trend to be able to do, if our wages match last June, plus a little extra due to the step increases, right? Because as we go into the next fiscal year, the staff that's returning would go up a step. And with our full-time staff, when we do our annual evals, when they get their, if they're above satisfactory, they also will get a step increase. So if all of those things stay the same, currently there's $8,442 that are open invoices that have yet to be paid before the end of the month. And then in the last 8 days, Tim has made $13,758 because we've started doing the beach passes again. So he has also estimated that the beach should probably bring in an additional $15,000 by the end of the month. And again, all of those funds are going to pay for the lifeguards that we have on staff. Excuse me. So, and then the last piece of it is also, if we don't make any additional revenue on programs or anything from this point on, which is unlikely, I do hope that we will continue to get participants to sign up for our programs. But just being, trying to be really strict about the numbers, because the only thing I can't really guarantee is the revenue. So I'm just going to say we're not making any more, which hopefully we will. But the year to date would approximate that we would come out a little $11,589 in the positive. So it's a really, really tight margin when you think about our department having $1 million budget, and there's $1 million coming in, $1 million going out, and only having that 11,500 as like the buffer. It's a little bit scary, I'm not going to lie, but I think that we're going to be in the positive for this year. And, we're very hopeful that, we can get back to some normalcy and, have a regular year where, we're doing a little bit better than just making it over the finish line. Any questions?
Nope. Anybody else? All right, so we're good on that. So, Alicia, I'm going to let you start the next topic. Before we entertain any discussion amongst the commission members or anybody else after that, I want to say a couple things to sort of frame the discussion we'll have, and then we'll go on from there. So, Alicia, it's all yours.
Okay. So one of the things that, just as an update, we kind of keep the commissioners abreast of, any incidents and things like that happen at facilities. So we did have an incident on Sunday at Long Lake Beach. And the police were called. Tim, if you want to switch to the slide. I just did a really quick rundown of police report and what we had experienced being there. Incident occurred around 5:30 p.m. When the beach was closing up for the night. There was a man from Lowell that had advertised a concert at Long Lake to take place at 6 p.m. when we're closed. And he didn't have a permit. The group were trying to set up speakers and asking neighbors if they could use power from their homes to play the music. And a resident or a visitor, we're not really sure, to a town road resident, instigated a verbal altercation with this group. So that verbal altercation escalated, which caused a lot of people to call 911. There was no physical altercation at all. It was completely verbal. So the police responded to the incident. And then I arrived on the scene around, I would say 5:15. Tim was like right there after me. So I was there. I witnessed the police trying to de-escalate the group and asking all non-residents to disperse from the area. And then they followed up by having, additional conversations with people in the vicinity. But I mean, I have to commend, our staff, the aquatics directors, acted diligently in calling the police immediately. When we train them not to interfere in any of these disputes, whether they're verbal or physical combativeness. The police are the professionals that take care of those situations. And we don't want, you think about it, our staff are 16 to 24, right? They don't have conflict resolution training, nor, the ability to really deal and handle with these sort of situations. So, they were quick on the draw, called the police. And the day after, we followed up with the police chief, and we, had some conversations about different things that we can do just to make sure that, they have a heightened presence down there. And that we can make sure that any responses in the future are, as expedient as possible. So that is that's the update. I don't know, I guess, Fred, you said you wanted to chat about it a little bit more.
I did, because I think we need to frame this discussion, because it can go off the rails or just go in all sorts of directions that really aren't appropriate or part of our purview. First and foremost, I've heard talk, and I think Alicia has as well, that, well, then we should just make the beach for residents only and not allow non-residents. That's not an option. The town has taken grant money and received state funds for a number of different things down at the beach, so we're required to allow residents from other communities there. We do charge a different rate. They do have to get the same passes that we do, but we cannot make this a residents-only beach. That's not one of the options. I think as we go through this, remember, most of the stuff that happens down there that the residents or the nearby abutters don't like is happening after hours. We did offer a couple years ago to extend the beach hours where we would have a presence down there, and they were against that. I think Kevin and Mike, you probably remember those conversations that we had. We have reached out to the police department. We're going to start ticketing people without beach stickers. They're the ones that have to enforce these policies. It's not our people. One, they're too young, and two, they don't have the authority to enforce those. And I think lastly, there's been different talk, or at least I've heard through the grapevine that there's been different talk about how the police handled it and that sort of thing. That's not part of our discussion. What they, I don't know what happened with them, but that's not what we're here to talk about. So let's leave that out of any conversation we have as well. And now that's all I have to say. I'll open it up to anybody on the commission that wants to talk. And then Alicia, you said there's people waiting to speak. So I would ask that anybody that's not a commission member that wants to speak, please frame your conversation around the topics that we sort of brought forward, because there's a lot of things that just we can't handle. Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to offer our kudos to that last paragraph is key. Kudos for the staff for handling it the way they did.
In terms of the parking permits, they, as currently organized, are only required during the operational hours. Is that right?
So,
Go ahead, Deb.
yeah, so let me just, I'll go, especially since Aaron's new and Saul hasn't been through this conversation before. So the parking permits are required Memorial Day through Labor Day as put forth by that's the way that it was written up. So a couple years ago when we started enforcing parking permits, which was before you, we got a lot of pushback because they weren't enforced before, and we started doing it. And in some of those discussions that we had with Fred and Mike and the other commissioners that were in, there was a little bit of leniency that we gave why everybody was getting their parking permits in these first couple weeks of the summer for the past couple years. It is quite a large undertaking to get them out there. A lot of people do wait until they, show up to the beach. As we talked about in the previous statement, we did, almost $14,000 worth of summer passes just this weekend. So, not only were we stopping people as they came down the driveway, but, we were sending them over and, making sure that we were checking everybody. Everyone is required to have a sailboat sticker to park on Lakeshore, Town Road, or when necessary, the overflow lot, which we use for Shaker Lane. You're also required to have a membership card that you get with that to be on the beach. In lieu of that, if you were a day guest, we charge $15 for residents to park and $3 per person to use the beach for the day. For non-residents, it's $20 per person to park and $5 per person to use the beach for the day. Anybody under the age of 3 is admitted for free. So that runs, through Labor Day. We do have a parking tent that we put up in the parking lot. Most of last summer, I spent, all summer out there up until about 3:00 this weekend. I was, out in the parking lot myself, making sure that we were, communicating everybody and just reminding everybody about the rules. So, we do have all of these systems in place. And to Fred's point, a lot of what we do have in place, the leniency has been asked for by the residents, especially the residents of the neighborhood. We do have, a lot of our issues that take place, a majority of them, this, is the first one in 3 years of operation. This is the 4th year that has actually happened while we still had staff in the park. So, it's one of those things that, to Fred's point, we did try to extend the hours to 8:00 to mitigate these other groups or people who don't want to buy a pass or people from out of town showing up. But that was, turned down, especially by a lot of the abutting neighbors. So lastly, I just want everybody to understand, coming out of COVID, we have a couple issues that caused this to happen. So number one, everybody's just now getting out looking for things to do. And it happened to be that they planned something to do unbeknownst to us at our park for that day. Number two, you still have a massive lifeguard shortage, as well as many communities that have not rebounded and still have their swimming facilities, public pools, lakes, whatever it is, closed, and they may not reopen this year. There's a massive lifeguard shortage as well as a chlorine shortage. So same thing. A lot of those pools may or may not open this year. Moving forward, we did have a conversation with the police chief and the town administrator yesterday. And we are going to be much more stringent, and we're going to follow our guidelines to a T. We're going to have signage put up tomorrow in regards to the parking permits. Once those signs are in place on Town Road and Lakeshore, if you're parked there without a yellow sailboat, you will get a parking ticket, and there will be no appeals for it. This is everybody's thing. If you don't have a sticker, then please, reach out to us and we will facilitate that. The other thing that we're going to be doing is we had originally wanted to put a person checking passes on Lakeshore Drive. That was something that was said that was not wanted, so we didn't do that. Had we had somebody over on Lakeshore Drive, we possibly would have caught the larger group coming in a little earlier than before it was too late for everybody to start intervening on what was going on. And then lastly, just to reiterate, our staff are trained for the aquatics, and they're really looking at everything in front of themselves. The aquatics directors, the parking people, they're in charge of kind of that back beach, the picnic grove area. So everybody is watching that. Everybody is, paying attention. We do go around and do a lot of checking, but there's a lot that went on up to this point. And, one of the things that we ask is that everybody does their part. So the minute that someone is going around asking for electricity from the neighbors and walking on private property and trespassing on property that's not park and rec property, that's probably a good time to call the police and just say something's going on. So there was a lot of things that went on leading up to the actual response by the police force and the calls and the verbal altercation and things like that, I've talked to probably 20 people since yesterday morning. And, all of them said, well, I did see this. I thought it was funny. I didn't say anything. Or, they knew the whole story, that they went to 4 or 5 different houses looking for power, but nobody said anything about it, prior to the point that it got to be a big deal. So that's an update for you guys on what we're going to be doing. We are going to be much more stringent on checking passes starting on Saturday, and we will start giving parking tickets as soon as I get those signs put up tomorrow afternoon.
And is that, sorry, just to clarify, the parking is 24/7 or during operational hours?
So the park is only open dawn to dusk. So that's another thing. We've asked the police to enforce that. If you were there outside of the hours of dawn to dusk, we will look at the trespass ticket.
The what ticket, Tim, again? You called it
A trespass?
no trespass. Okay.
You can be formally written up by the police for trespassing and be assigned a fee, a ticket for it.
And is that all pieces of the beach, like say the playground as well?
Yeah, all of our parks are open from dawn till dusk. That's it. So as soon as the sun goes down, no one should be there. And I don't live that far away from the beach, and I do know that people frequently go down there and swim at night. And not only is it a liability to the town, I mean, I guess it's not, because it does say lifeguards are not on duty, swim at your own risk. But that's a risk I personally would not take, but that's just me.
All right, anybody have anything else?
Now, the question I have, what's the policy with boats? People bringing boats and launching it? That doesn't require a pass still, though, right?
You're correct on that. If it's directly out of the state boat ramp, then there's very limited parking there. So
I know.
there's probably only about like 2 spots, honestly. And if somebody comes with a trailer, it's like it's all taken.
Yep.
Yeah, so coming in and out through the boat ramp, you still need to have life jackets in your, at least in your boat of choice or paddleboard, because that is something I know the environmental police will definitely ticket for if you're not wearing a PDF or life jacket for the layperson. And it's been that way for years. Yeah.
So I was just curious about that, and you bring up a good point. There's very limited parking. Do we have any issues with people, launching their boat and trying to park in the neighborhoods?
Yeah.
Have there been complaints? How has that been handled?
Most of the time, people are very understanding if there's no room, and they either find parking on the street and get a day pass, or they decide to go find somewhere else to go for the day. One of the things with moving everything around this year, we actually were able to create 2 trailer spaces that are going to be located behind the dumpster once we get everything squared away this week. And we did free up a little bit of some extra area. So hopefully egress on the boat ramp is going to be a little better. But we do keep a very close eye on that as well. Just making sure people are parking correctly. Most of the people will not even turn into the boat ramp if they come down and see that it's full. They'll just keep going around the corner there.
Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, hi, I'm a resident.
Let's hang on for 1 second.
Okay.
Anybody that is going to join in, please state your name and your address. And again, try and remain within sort of the framework of this conversation. And Alicia, I'll let you let them in, and I'll let you recognize them because you can see who you're letting in and I can't. Fair enough? And you're on mute.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, if folks want to speak, you guys can raise your hands and I can see that. And I will let folks know. In general, we try to keep to a 3-minute time limit, please, and thank you. So let's see.
And just as a note, if you start straying from the topic and getting off course, I'm going to jump in and sort of stop things. So now we can move on.
Looking for.
And I think it was a Jennifer Klein that we just cut off, so she can sort of start.
Tim, are you seeing anybody that has their hands raised? Because I'm not.
No, I didn't see anybody with their hand raised. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing so I can see. I don't see any hands raised right now, but you're not going to see their hands raised, I don't think, because they're non-video participants.
So I am here. It doesn't have a raised button, but I am able to communicate.
Okay.
So I'll just start us off until we figure out the technological difficulties. I walked down to the
Excuse me, please. We're going to need people. You need to give your name and address, and then you can certainly go ahead.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I live on Dogwood. My name's Jennifer Klein. I have a young family, a 5- and 3-year-old boy. And we walked down to the beach and we noticed a lot of suspicious activity that wasn't addressed for quite some time. And actually the timeline that you said in your report does not match the timeline of when I was there, as well as the police report that I requested afterward. So as I was arriving, I saw some folks turn around in my neighbor's driveways and park along Lakeshore Drive illegally. And I continued to the beach and went straight to the shack. I asked for a season pass, and they said that the person that was supposed to be doing it was not there. So I said, okay, we'll get it another day. And we went in the water and we heard loud music. And then we went out of the water and we went to the playground and we saw some people trespassing on my neighbor's property. And then we decided to go home about 4:55. And as we're walking out, I smelled marijuana. And then shortly after is when the police came, and I didn't know what happened. I couldn't see what was happening with the police arriving because there was people fleeing the scene and going through my neighbor's property again. And then they were going to their car, and they zipped off in their car very fast. It was a very fast car. So it was a very dangerous situation. There was probably 30 or 40 people, according to the police report. And I think all of us can agree that we'd like for this not to happen again. And I'm encouraged that, you know, you've talked to the police, you've put some more things in place with them. I'm just concerned that, you know, where were you during that hour and a half that I was there when all of these illegal activities were happening, because I was, you know, trying to request to follow the rules and was following the rules when I was there, and I was unable to locate anyone.
Okay, thank you. I can't address it. I mean, I guess I can address the part that if stuff's happening off of the beach site and you think it's illegal, then it's kind of incumbent upon whoever sees that to contact the police if it's not on the beach site. Tim, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah, okay.
Or Alicia.
No, it's fine, because Tim was the one that had scheduled the staff. So typically, you know, we work way over the 40 hours a week that we're supposed to. But in general, you know, we try to take the weekends off when we can, and that's why we have seasonal staff. So Tim can speak to his staff a bit more, but there were 2 aquatics directors on duty that day. So Tim, I don't know if you have more that you wanted to say about that.
Yeah, so we actually had 3 lifeguards, 2 aquatics directors, and a snack shack attendant and myself. I had just left the beach probably an hour before this group showed up at the park for the first time. So in response to your question, Jen, I did talk to Cece, Izzy, and Isabella, who is the girl you spoke to, who was at the snack shack. So Isabella should have sent you to the other end of the shed to get your pass. However, both Cece and Izzy were out on the beach at the time. One was checking passes and one was rotating the lifeguards. So, you know, I apologize that there was nobody there to help you when you came at that particular moment. But like I said, you know, we definitely did have the staff there, and we were, you know, doing our normal operations. There wasn't, you know, towards the end of the day, I think that there wasn't as much checking going on as when I had left, just because they were down, you know, the extra person, but they were also in the process of getting ready to do the closing procedures for the evening, which, you know, getting into the bathrooms, closing up the lifeguard stands, making sure that we're going through all of our spiels and our checklists that we're required to do in order to do that. So, you know, in response to your timeline, I think 5:30 was right about the time that we all arrived. So I'm just kind of going through my phone real quick, just pulling up. I actually got an email from one of the neighbors that I saw, which is why I called 911 for the first time when I had done so. So looks like it was right around. I made my first call to the police at 4:55, right after I received the email, which was at 4:50 from one of the abutting neighbors. And then Izzy made her first call to 911 at 4:52. So, yeah, the timeline was a little advanced as far as the 5:30 thing. I think that was kind of when things were starting to wrap up and we were getting closed on that slide.
Okay, yeah, I just want to clarify, this all did happen on the beach premises and within, you know, the Parks and Rec overview. So just because I want to make sure that this doesn't happen again, and I know you do too, I'm wondering about capacity limits. You know, I'm concerned that there's going to be too many people for the lifeguards to watch in the water because obviously, it was a very hot day. There were people from out of town coming. So I was wondering what the capacity limits are.
So once we kind of see the park fill up, including the Pine Grove, which in this instance had all of those people stayed, we probably would have started turning people away. In my 4 years here, we've had 2 times that we've turned people away. They were both on 4th of July, and we closed the park down around 10 o'clock, I think it was, and started letting people back in right around 3 o'clock. So we don't really ever have any issues with that. And as far as guards go, we staff so that we can accommodate 200 people in the water at any given time. So American Red Cross is 1 lifeguard for 25 people. So typically we staff 4 lifeguards, 2 aquatics directors, and if we need be, we also have 2 lifeguards who are on call for the day that we let them know at noon if they need to come in or not. So capacity wise, that's how we kind of figure that out.
Okay, thank you. And I also wanted to know, because these people were speeding, parking illegally, stealing money by hooking up to someone's electricity, trespassing and playing loud music, were you able to give their names based on the paperwork that you filled out for them to be able to be there for a day pass? Did you give those names to the police? And did you use the video footage that you have from the police, from the beach to the police?
So answer your first question is that when Izzy went up and started checking passes is when the incident started escalating. So at that point, no, we didn't actually, I don't think any of the group had any passes. There was, I think, 2 families, maybe 10 people who had been there all day who did have passes. And then as far as the video footage goes, Neshoba Security is in the process of upgrading the system. So there is actually no video footage right now. They just connected up the Ethernets and everything today. Hopefully we'll have everything back online tomorrow or Thursday.
Okay, all right. I think
We also have no cameras in the picnic grove. Everything is beach forward. So the real reason that we have, is everything for parking incidents and aquatics incidents. So the picnic grove is not covered.
Okay, I just have one more question.
All right, and then we need to move on because we're sort of getting outside the scope of this whole conversation. The enforcement part of it's kind of not where we're at. Go ahead.
So, as I mentioned, I was there for about an hour and a half, and there was a lot of multiple activities happening that were illegal. So one of the things that I was, when I was in the water, I noticed is that it was very loud music, and I think we need to, and I don't think these folks had been asked for a pass the hour and a half they were there, just like I was not. So I'm wondering if we should have signage that say when you check in, please pay here now, or go to the snack shop first. Here are the park rules. I'm curious why they were allowed to play loud music, and what is the rules for loud music?
Jen, you and I had a conversation over the phone. So, I'll take this as the moment to empower everybody else. If you're there and you see something that is not right and, is very concerning to you, call the police immediately. Police, fire will never be angry at somebody calling because they're concerned. So, I definitely want to empower. We have the same conversation with our staff every year. So I definitely encourage everyone to do that if you're ever in a situation where you don't feel comfortable or you feel that there is something going on. Additionally, with the other components as far as it goes with loud music, we had also spoke about that as well. And it's an outside venue. I honestly don't know if the police have limited hours for the list of like how loud music can be, decibels, things like that. But people drive down the street and they have their cars really loud when you pass them, and it's a part of the freedoms that we have.
All right, let's move on. There's a lot of other people here that may want to speak.
I muted myself. I'm sorry. Looks like Mark Richards has his hand raised as well.
I do. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, indeed. Go ahead.
Great, great. Thank you very much. Mark Richards, Juniper Road. I didn't see the incident, but I heard it. It also went by my house. A few of the vehicles at rather high rate of speed. Doesn't really speak very well of where we are as a town. I'm unimpressed. But that said, I realize that it's not the Park and Rec's job to police. They have their own park and recreation facilities to manage. I get that. And we'll be following up with the police department and seeing if we can get much more stringent enforcement down there, because it's gotten a little crazy. There's a lot of drug use down there. There's just a lot of craziness, and it needs to get clamped down. But I'm curious about a couple of things. And this is a little bit off this topic, so forgive me, but I want to get I want to get it in now.
I'll give you a little leeway, but this,
Thank you.
again, this is what I was hoping to avoid, so.
I want to get it in now. Okay. So, this item is not in your posted agenda. Should it be in the posted agenda so that people can get a notice of this and be prepared for this?
So it's in my director's report. Anytime that we have the incidences, it would go under the director's report. Right. Additionally, that this agenda following open meeting law has to be posted in advance. Yep. So this agenda was posted last Thursday and the event took place on Sunday evening.
Okay, so that's fine. You guys talked about budget and in fact did some approving of some money transfer, but there was no public input. Why is there no public input before you make a vote on things like budget, alcohol, etc.?
We talk about this at every single meeting, Mark, and additionally, we go through the budget process. So we are at Board of Selectmen meetings, FinCom meetings. We discuss all of these things throughout the entire year.
Not today.
Our budget process usually starts, oh my goodness, for 20, so fiscal year 23, I will actually start calculating the numbers this August. And usually we don't get a final end number, if you will, until right up before the town meeting in spring. So it's a very long process. Yeah.
So wouldn't it have been prudent just to allow people to speak before you voted? Just asking.
I'm sorry, through the chair, I don't think this line of questions has anything to do with what we're talking about tonight. So,
well, it's what I'm talking about. I'm a resident and I pay the freight just like everybody else, and I'm asking my questions. Mr.
Richards,
I'm asking my question.
I don't think this line of questioning has anything to do with what we're talking about tonight.
Well, it's what I'm talking about. I'm asking why we do not have a voice before you vote. That's a simple question. Can somebody answer that?
So, sorry, gentlemen, I know you're trying to, move the meeting along, but as I had just said, Mark, we have a year-long process, and that's something where the public is welcome to ask questions all the way through. So at the Board of Selectmen meetings, at the FinCom meetings, like I said, there are multiple meetings over the course of a year to develop what a yearly budget is going to be. If those opportunities were things that perhaps you hadn't seen, I apologize for that. And that's something we can talk about with the town on how we can make those more available to the public. On the process that I have been part of, there has been dozens, if not, way more than that, opportunities for the public to put their input in on the budget process.
Well, I appreciate your answer. It tells me a lot. Thank you.
So, Mark, just one thing to comment, just because you made the statement that you pay the freight. So the Park and Rec is an enterprise fund. So everything that we're discussing is money that's been generated by the programs. So it's not coming out of your tax dollars. The beach is not coming out of your tax dollars. None of that's coming out of your tax dollars. The only tax money that's represented is the money that is used to pay Alicia and myself. Everything else is generated by all of the programs that you saw us speaking about and put forth towards this.
I respect that, but I would say there are other ways that the freight is paid by the public.
All right, well, thanks, Mark,
All right.
but it's time for us to move on with
Yeah,
this
I'm sure.
current
Thanks.
discussion. Excuse me?
Yeah, we should move on. Thank you.
Thank you. Alicia, you're muted.
Sorry. At this point, I don't see any other hands raised. Tim, do you? Okay. All right. Let me get back to my minute notes here.
I think it might just be worthwhile because some people don't have the raise. Is there anybody else who needed to speak on this topic?
That's fair.
Just unmute yourself and please state your name and your address.
I think for future reference, if anybody's coming up, if you open the participants list, the raise hand button is inside that function.
Actually, I just checked mine. This is Anna Mayer. I used to be at 29. Now I'm in Ayer. I don't, if I press on participants, I don't see a raised hand button.
Bottom left. If you get the little, we don't need a Zoom now, but if you get
Hopefully we're almost
people,
done with Zoom and we'll be back in person in a month.
Oh no. No, we're not. If you get the list on the side of your screen, it has the raised hand. But anyways, go ahead, Anna.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Anna Mayer in Ayer on Mountain Laurel Road. And I was just wondering about, people mentioned marijuana and kind of implications that that's illegal. But I thought that recreational use was passed for marijuana. Is it still illegal to smoke at the beach?
So I can answer that if you don't mind. Our policy, and it's clearly stated, it's on the back of the lifeguard chairs as well as outside of the bathhouse. Even though, yes, you are correct, recreational marijuana is legal if you are 21 and older. But smoking, regardless if it's tobacco or marijuana, is not allowed on the park premises, any of our parks. So that's 300 King, that is Long Lake Beach, and that's Fay Park. And I know the school systems also have the same policy. So, clearly in the schools, but, on athletic fields, the same goes. So, if you're there to watch a child play a game, the same thing goes. You should not be smoking tobacco or marijuana. Alcohol is also not permitted. Does that help, Anna?
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right, Juliana has her hand raised.
Okay, hi everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. I just had a question.
Could you just give us your whole name and your address,
Oh,
please?
sure. Juliana
Thank you.
Sims. I'm also on Juniper Road. So I have a question about capacity limits in regards to the whole park and not just the water. Is there a head count for the whole park during the summer? Because it sounds like the people who were at the park weren't in the water.
So like I said earlier, I don't know if you missed it. So we typically look at the park as a whole, even the back beach, which is the picnic grove. And, once it gets to a point where, if you look at how people spread out a normal blanket and space their families out, once it gets to the point where it's full, that's the point that we'll, stop capacity. We don't want, people sitting on top of each other, everybody have good egress. Really, we run into running out of parking spots before we run into necessarily capacity of the entire park.
Thank you.
All right.
I just had a quick question about capacity. Are you limiting the number of passes you give out so that you don't go over capacity on a weekend?
Yeah, so we keep an eye on, that's why we ask everybody to check in. And that's also why we hand out the wristbands to the people who are sitting on the beach so we can keep tabs of how many people have arrived at the beach for the day. At which point, we keep an eye on those numbers as well as just a general eye on what it looks like on the beach. And, we dealt with this last year during COVID, making sure everybody was 12 feet apart and all of that. So yeah, it's really just a visual, and if you're looking for a number, there's not a number.
All right. I think we've kind of reached the extent of the discussion on this because we're not really getting to the topic of the actual event. So I think it's time to move on and close this discussion, and let's get on to whatever's next on the agenda. I sort of lost mine.
That's okay. So new business, we don't have any. And then the old business, I know Tim wanted to do an update on where we are with the renovations that are happening down at Long Lake.
You're on mute, Tim.
Yeah, just to let everybody know kind of where we are at with the renovations. We have finished all of the painting and most of the updates to the existing bathrooms and bathhouse. The new building is about 70% complete as far as the interior build out and getting everything all set. Peter Scott's going to be building a deck as well as installing a new ADA accessible door and walkway sometime this week. So that'll get all finished up. We painted the wall today, so I know there's been a lot of people concerned about the graffiti and stuff that was on it. That's all covered up and all taken care of. There's new signage being delivered tomorrow. We have everything from speed limit signs to children at play to Long Lake Beach parking permit signs to the security signs that we're required to have because the beach is monitored via video cameras. We also have an additional 2 signage boards. One's going to go at the beach at the Lakeshore Drive entrance, and one is a 3-bay signage board that's going to go on the side of the new building to convey any important information. We also have one of those going into Fay Park and 300 King. With that, next weekend, next week, hopefully we'll be wrapped up with all the landscaping on Friday. We'll do some leftover stuff on Monday. The beach should be 100% wrapped up on Monday or Tuesday of next week. IT stuff should be finished up on Thursday. I got to get with Nancy and just kind of figure a couple things out down there. And then we'll be transitioning to getting ready for the sailing program. So next week we'll be down there with the sailing crew, fiberglassing boats and getting all the sails and all the rigging ready for the first day of sailing, as well as putting up the new tents for the shade. And once that's done, we'll take a bunch of pictures. I have tons of before pictures, and we'll take tons of after pictures, and we'll give you guys the full update. If anybody is interested, in coming down, maybe we can set up some time that everybody can come down and do a walkthrough. But it's pretty night and day difference from where we were, especially with what the park looked like about a month ago. It was kind of not left in the best shape over the winter after Highway did all the construction on the boat ramp, and we had the company come in and redo the swales. There was a lot of stuff that was just kind of laying around because we needed access to the buildings all winter. So we finally got most of that stuff buttoned up. The new fleet of boats will be here hopefully by the end of this week. We do have 20 new kayaks coming in. All the canoes have been fixed up and ready to go. So I would say, that has been awesome being able to rent boats. Boat rentals were a hot ticket this weekend. So people were super excited to be able to get back on the water, especially since you can't buy a boat. So they definitely came out and rented them. And it was nice to see people being able to get back out on the water with their kids and paddleboarding. So yeah, everything's going really well. And then we'll have the last thing that we're waiting on is June 14th. We have the the garage door openers going in. So both of the garage doors will have an opener. Everything will be a digital access with record of who went in and out. Right now we just have locks. We never know who has keys or anything like that. So now everything will be digital and everything will have an electronic record and send us a text or an email when somebody's accessing one of our buildings. So hopefully it'll be much more secure. And that's the last thing that goes into place. And then Highway's going to take the shed out of there hopefully next week, and that'll be the new transfer station office, the old snack shack.
I did want to add one component that you didn't mention because there's so much to mention, and they've done a really amazing job down there. Tim's done a lot of hard work. We are also getting a shade tree that's going to be put in. It should be a 3-inch diameter. I think they said elm, right? I know we went back and forth. No, it's not an elm anymore. Okay.
So it's a maple. It's a type of maple.
Okay.
Stephen and I just had a conversation about it right before this.
So within the next 2 weeks, that tree should be going in kind of in the same-ish area where we had that dangerous pine taken down the last year. So it'll be in that little grassy grove area.
Thank you. Do we have anything else? Tim and Alicia, you both muted yourselves, so would I be wrong? Alicia, you can just blink to answer this. Do you want me to see if we want to adjourn at this point?
The only thing that we had on there was the metal detecting policy, and that the same goes for where I was with the electronic checks. I just have had no time to dedicate to it since we're trying to get everything up and running. So please table that, please and thank you.
You already had it on. If you write table for July, I think that's a directive, not a suggestion. So
just as an aside, I was working on it during the meeting. So for those of you who don't know, we had it up on our Facebook page, multiple community Facebook pages, Acton, Littleton, all over the place. So we were looking for a wedding ring. It was found this evening by a little girl. So I just was able to get both parties together. Party one is headed from Acton to Maynard to go pick up said ring. So thank you to everybody who had a hand in looking and spending just a couple minutes looking through the sand. So we did have a happy ending. Required. I said no metal detectors required, Alicia.
Yeah.
And just as an aside, I lost my wedding ring at Russell Street Fields one year. And one of my players found it 2 weeks later in the grass there.
Wow.
And, so now I don't take it off. But anyways, let's, if we're all set, I think we can move for adjournment.
Mhm.
Somebody.
There we go. Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor. Aaron.
Yes, sir.
Saul.
Yes.
Kevin.
Yes.
Mike.
Yep.
And I'm yes as well. So the meeting is now adjourned.